Welcome to Rinkside Rundown, the podcast that puts you right in the heart of women's hockey. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and each week I'm on a mission to showcase the incredible women who are lighting up the ice across the globe. Get ready as I chat with rising stars, seasoned pros, and all the game changers making waves in the world of women's hockey that you won't find anywhere else. So, let's dive into the exciting world of women's hockey and make sure to click that subscribe button so you never miss an exciting episode. Hello and welcome back to Rinkside Rundown. I'm your host, Chris Sinclair, and today I'm excited to be joined by Taylor Girard, a forward with the Boston Fleet. Taylor, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm excited to have a little chat with you and just spread a little awareness about women's hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, listen, that's what this podcast is all about. So I feel you on that one. I love it. Again, I'm very, very excited and so thrilled to have you on the show. This is one of those interviews where you kind of pinch yourself, saying like, "Ooh, I get to have a great conversation with Taylor Girard." Unbelievable. But let's put that aside for a moment because I want to get to know you. I want to get to hear your story, and a good story always starts with a good origin story. So tell me, what was it about hockey that drew you to the sport initially?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Just to start off with, honestly, my older brother, like I wanted to be him. He was playing hockey. He's, I think, 3 years older than me. But yeah, like ever since I started walking, like, and just like being aware, like he was playing hockey. My dad would build an ice rink in our backyard, and it was just always something fun to get out there and just try to copy him and be like him. So I think that's the biggest draw to hockey was I wanted to be my older brother, and we just had so much fun doing it.
There is nothing more quintessential to hockey than a good ODR. So I appreciate a nice backyard rink and stuff like that. That sounds fantastic. And do you remember that those first few, like that first feeling you had when you laced up the skates for the very first time, you hit the ice, you're out there with your brother? Do you remember what that felt like when you first did that?
Like, to be honest, no, because I was so young. Like when I tell you when I first started walking, my parents like had me in skates and I was out there just holding on to a chair, or my dad was holding me up. Just I see pictures and it just, I don't know, it's just me having the biggest smile on my face and just being around my brother and just kind of making it into like a family event. Um, yeah.
Okay, so I know I'm jumping forward a little bit, but
Mhm.
how does it feel to, especially like you said, like looking back at those photos, how does it feel to like think about how you started, not necessarily with the goal of being a hockey player necessarily, but like, holding on for dear life with to those to that to the chair as you're going around the ice and stuff like that, to now being and playing professional women's hockey. Like, how does it feel to kind of look back at that journey that you've been through?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel like I should still be holding on to a chair, honestly, but um no, it's pretty special to like when I was younger, it's just like all little girls could look at is the NHL. So I always was like, "Oh, I want to play in the NHL. I want to play in the NHL." That's not a thing. Like so to be sitting in my shoes right now, it's something I've never dreamt of, and it seems surreal.
And thinking about those early days, and then obviously you found a passion for it, you found a love for hockey. Um, what was it about forward? And did you ever think about maybe trying a different position?
I actually have been every position. I started off as a goalie, and then I played defense, and then now I switched to forward when I went to girls hockey at like 10 or 11, but I was a goalie for the longest time. And yeah, defense, it wasn't really my thing. Obviously, goalie wasn't really my thing. And then once I like became a forward and started like scoring goals and just had so much fun, I was like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, I mean, nothing beats a good goal. Nothing beats a good goal celebration as well, right? Like, a great save, a great defensive play, obviously really cool. But
Yeah,
scoring that goal, having the crowd behind you, that must be such a rush.
right? It's just so special. Yeah, not that the other stuff isn't special, but it's just like it's
It's
different.
different kind. Yeah, absolutely, it's different. Yeah. Sidebar here for a second. Would you ever consider going back to like your roots as a goalie, or maybe, switching things up and trying? I mean, obviously it's a little bit different now, but would you ever like is there like a little voice in your head saying, "You know what? I wish that I had been a goalie. I wish I had stuck with it."
Like, no, I'm so happy I'm a forward. I don't like watching, like, just like watching like Aaron Frankel and net, like in practice and stuff. I'm like, "God, that's not me."
I wouldn't be able to do what she's doing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I love one of the one of the best things about sports is not necessarily the stat lines or necessarily the records or the achievements, although those are all really great things. But one of the most important things, especially from a fan's perspective, that we don't get a chance to see as often is the family side of this. You've mentioned obviously the impact that your brother had on you, especially early on. When you think about family, when you're in sports, it's often like family is are the unsung heroes in getting
Yeah.
you to where you need to go, or where you want to go rather. What has family meant to you throughout your career, especially early on, but now as well with the PWHL, playing the sport you love at the highest level?
Yeah, I mean, I am just truly so thankful for the support system I have with my family. Like, I just obviously would not be where I am right now without my entire family just doing anything in their power to help me to get to a practice when I was younger, get to the games, and just all the sacrifices that they've made. Just like my parents, my aunts and uncles, my grandma and grandpa, like everybody is was always like doing something to help me out. So just to have that support behind me was just incredible. And just have always having someone there to cheer me on is just I'm so lucky.
Okay, I need to ask this question as well. This is going to be, keeping with the family, theme here for a moment. What was their reaction, and how did it feel for them to hear your name? And I don't want to jump too far ahead. I am a little bit, so forgive me for a moment, but to hear your name called in both the PHF and in the PWHL. We're going to get into the specifics of those in just a moment. I don't want to ruin the surprise for anyone. But just in general, like, what was it like for them, and knowing that and for you, knowing that they sacrificed, as you said, sacrificed so much of their time? They didn't need to do this, but they saw your passion and they just believed in you. What did it mean for you and for them to hear your name called in those scenarios? Because those are really big achievements.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, how crazy is it that I got drafted twice? Like, no athlete really gets to see that they've been in two drafts, so kind of wild they got to experience it twice. But with the PHF, I was actually coaching a camp in Rochester, and the draft was over Zoom. So it was kind of like I was just like sitting in my hotel room, like watching the Zoom. But I think after I called them later, they had like the Zoom or like the broadcast or whatever on like the TV in the living room, and my family was over, and I'm sure there were some tears shed, but yeah, it was just like they're so proud, and I think that's awesome. And then with the PWHL, it was in Toronto, and my parents were actually on vacation because we weren't even sure when exactly the draft was going to be. So sadly, we weren't next to each other for either of them. But yeah, I just know that they're so proud of me, and a lot of tears shed, and just, yeah, special.
Yeah, they don't necessarily need to be, although I'm sure having them right next to you in either
Yeah,
one of those
but it
situations
made
or
me feel a lot more calmer for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But it's just knowing that when they heard the news, when they got that news, I'm sure, as you said, that there were I'm sure that they couldn't even still put into words how they felt in that moment for what you've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so along those same lines, thinking about family and, relationships, your boyfriend is also involved in hockey. He's with the Ducks organization. He's a defenseman. So I want to know, it's inherent that as an athlete, you're just super competitive. Like, I don't know that, like, that's one of the reasons why I could never be an athlete is I'm one of the least competitive people out there. I try so hard to be competitive, which just totally defeats the purpose. So I'm fine just observing from a distance.
Yeah.
Um, or playing something more casual, of course. But what's the dynamic between the two of you, considering you're both athletes, considering you're both great at what you're doing? What's that dynamic like between the two of you, being so competitive?
Yeah, this is a really funny question because I don't know, I feel like I'm so competitive, and I feel like with me he's not as competitive, but I'm always like, I'm gonna beat you. But no, I think we honestly have such a great, like, healthy competitive dynamic. Like, we both really help to just like push each other, and we really help one another to get better. And in the summers, because he's from Michigan as well, so I'm from Michigan, but so we get to hang out in Michigan and we get to like skate together. We're in the same like workout group, and it's fun to be able to do the off season together and just help each other get better. And like with him being a D, he sees the game differently than I see the game, and we can just help each other in those little ways. Both of us, like me being a forward, him being a D. But yeah, I just absolutely love learning and being able to work together. I think it's so fun.
So that's actually a great point, and not something I had even thought of, which is how you can, as competitive as you are, you can actually help each other out in being able to learn the game from a different perspective. Do you
Yeah.
find that you're both, as you kind of mentioned there, you're both kind of giving each other, like, you're sharing tips where he could be maybe a little bit more offensive, and how to read the play from like from that sort of mindset, because it's a different mindset when you're playing defense as opposed to offense. And he's giving you tips, being like, hey, listen, like, this is what I would have done in this scenario to kind of like maybe read the plays better. Do you think that that a sort of part of the dynamic as well?
Yeah, 100%. Like that's this summer we focus on a lot of like just like little skill stuff. And like whenever we do like one-on-one or two-on-one stuff, like he always has like some great points where it's like, hey, like as a D, I'm putting my stick here, and like this is my first initial reaction when I'm thinking something different. So it kind of, yeah, it gives me a different perspective, like, oh, maybe this D is thinking this, and I can make a different move and catch him off guard or something like that. But yeah, it's fun, it's different. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And taking it off the ice, are you too competitive are you both rather competitive off the ice, or is it like you just leave the athlete stuff for the ice and then off ice you're like, you know what, like, let's just hang out? Or is it just constantly like everything's a competition and all that sort of stuff?
No, like, yeah, we'll like just chill, but we are, because we really only get the summers together, because he's right now, we're on opposite coasts. I'm on the East Coast, he's on the West Coast right now. But we're always like outside and just going to play like different sports just because we both are athletes and that's what we find fun. So like we'll go and play tennis, and again, I'm so competitive, and like I could get a point or whatever, and he'll say like good job, but if he gets a point, I'm like, oh my God, like this is not happening, and I like lose it a little bit. But like we'll go play golf, and I'm like, I don't care about golf all that much. Like I'm so bad at it. He can have it. Like that's where my competitiveness level just goes down. I'm like, you got it.
Okay, so I have to ask then, do you find that you're often playing a little bit more golf at times because your boyfriend's like, listen, like, this is the one time where you're not super competitive and it's just like a little bit more relaxed?
Well, he's like, I swear he's like golfing all the time in the summer. So I honestly like beg him to let me come join. Even though I'm not good at it, just because I like to be the girl in the golf cart and just like relax, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, golf is pretty relaxing. In all fairness, it's
Yeah,
frustrating. It's very frustrating at times, but it is also very
yeah, but I
relaxing.
think, yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. Um, Kind of shifting gears here a little bit. When you reflect on your career, what do you think are some of the challenges that you've had to face?
Yeah, I think throughout my career, the biggest challenges that I've had have been injuries. Um, like it's so hard to be taken off the ice for months and having to miss seasons, and you get to, or you don't get to, you miss out on all these like little things, like the little jokes in the locker room, like just all those like little minuscule things that you don't really think about. It's so hard. But
How do you think those injuries have helped to maybe define you more than just as a player, but as just an individual, as a person having to bounce back from those injuries?
yeah, I mean, the mental side of my game has grown a lot through my injuries, and you have to find a way to just like whoa, sorry. You have to find a way to just like stay connected to the game while you're off the ice or while you're watching your team play. You just like find a way, and when you are doing rehab and you're having a hard day, like you have to just tune into your brain and just have positive thoughts and just have the resilience to work through it and come back stronger.
Well, and that must be, as you've shared a few times, being such. I mean, like we've talked about, being an athlete, you're innately competitive. Like that's just a part of the DNA of being an athlete. But for yourself, as you shared, outside of golf, you're competitive at everything that you do. So how do you think, like, how do you stay positive and motivated when you're such a competitive person and you cannot do the thing that you love the most? Like, how do you stay so positive? Because I think this can apply to people in any sort of, just in life, but how do you stay positive?
That's tough. It is so hard to stay positive because everything around you is so negative. Um, but like I mentioned earlier, just having the support system around you to when I am having a bad day and I am just feeling so negative and so down on myself, and you have that support system around you that's like, hey, like we got this, you got this, I'm here for you. Like, what do we need to do to help you feel better right now? Um, that has helped me a lot, especially like throughout this summer, just coming back from my injury right now. It's just like having, like I said, like having those people around me being able to pick me up when I am feeling so low. It's been a game changer.
Yeah, and I feel like it would help, like, just your psyche when it comes to even just being, sure, absolutely being a person, being able to feel all that support, feel that, that energy from the people around you. But, then when you hit the ice, do you find that knowing that there were all of these people rooting for you, that they were all supporting you, that they were all behind you every step of the way, when you hit the ice, do you find you hit the ice maybe a little bit differently because you have that fresh perspective about how many people have supported you, and how maybe certainly as a competitor, you don't want to let yourself down, but you also don't want to let all these other people down?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a part of it. And then also when you get to step back on the ice after not being able to for a long time, you like once you're out of it, you're like, oh my God, you kind of sit back and you remember why you love this game so much and why it brings you so much joy. So when you get the chance to step back on the ice, it's like, oh my God, like let's go. Like you're just happy to be there, and you just kind of find like your mind shift changes about the sport, I would say. Like you kind of have a chip on your shoulder, you got to come back stronger. um But yeah, for sure with the support, just not wanting to let myself down and not wanting to let the other people around me down, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's one of those things about being an athlete. You don't want to, it's just like you don't want to let you have such high expectations for yourself. And then,
Yeah.
add to that the fact that you're having to bounce back from an injury and you know that all these people were there to support you. And when we think about your career, and I would say, maybe this question still applies even to this day, but certainly early on in your career, as you were finding yourself on the ice, as you were finding yourself or discovering yourself as a player, who do you think were some of those role models or some of those influences that you had, early on in your career when it came to hockey?
Yeah, like I kind of mentioned earlier, when I was younger, we didn't have like women's professional sports to look up to other than the Olympics every 4 years. But so it's when you're younger, like, and you're not seeing like female hockey players consistently on the TV or in any form, you have to look somewhere else. So obviously, the NHL was something that I kind of looked at, and Malkin was always my fave player growing up.
Okay, so why? What was it about? I mean, that sounds like a silly question because it's Malkin, but I still want to know, from your perspective, what were some of the.
Yeah, I honestly have no idea. Like, I'm from Detroit, so like you would think it would be like a Red Wings player, right? But like, I don't know. I like love the Penguins so much, and I was always, I think, like just seeing him on the TV, and he's obviously a great hockey player and just a tall power forward. So I think I've always just kind of tried to match what he did almost.
Okay, so I want to know as well, speaking of, not being able to, growing up and not being able to see women's hockey players on TV except for every 4 years, which was absolutely the longest 4 years, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think it means now, knowing that young girls, instead of having to look at the NHL, not to say that they absolutely they may still look at the NHL for their, role models or idols and all those sorts of things, but now knowing that there's this professional league which has the best of the best, what do you think that will do for, if I were to ask, you this same question, a few years from now, how do you think it might have changed with, actually being able to see representation on TV, in person, at the highest level? How do you think that might change?
Oh, for sure. I mean, if I was able to see like a female professional athlete playing a season just like how the NHL does, I would have like you're I don't know, you just sit there and you think like I can do that. Like that could be me and I want it to be me, which I think is so cool. Like just being able to sit there and know that you could be in our shoes right now, and hopefully the league's a lot bigger. There's more teams, there's more spots available, but yeah, I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Yeah, and I think that's one of the big things is once we start to see expansion, then that's when you're going to see a lot of those players who are now there aren't spots, right? So then they go overseas and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be nice to be able to. Can't wait for that. Can't wait for
Yeah,
some expansion.
excited.
Um, And, as you've continued your career, one of the things about being an athlete is often that you're giving back to the community, that you're connecting with the communities that you're a part of. What do you think it means to you to be able to connect with the community, to be able to connect with the fans, to be able, especially now with the PWHL and how it's been received by fans? Like there's such a passion for them to just be able to be near these incredible athletes like yourself. What does it mean to you to be able to be so connected to the community and to be able to give back to the fans?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is so important to just be involved in any community that I'm in, like either my hometown in Michigan or here in Boston. There's like our sport is growing a lot. So to be, like I kind of said, like just having a consistent female hockey player who is like accessible to you, where you are seeing them at your hockey practices, like they're coming to guest coach or just doing like little things and they're actually out and about in the world, like it makes you want to be them even more, I think. So I think it's so important for the growth of our sport, for like all of the young athletes to just kind of see you out in the world every day and just want to be in your shoes even more. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting about this, and one of the reasons I like to discuss this is that often it's, from a fan's perspective, it's like, or you're out in the community, what have you, and you're signing an autograph, or you're just like hanging out with them, and they're like, "This is the greatest day of my life. I've never been happier," and it's actually often from the player's perspective, it means a lot for the fans, but it often actually feels it's way more rewarding for you, because it's like, listen, like all I did was sign your stick or sign a jersey, and this is the reaction. Like it must feel really incredible to see, just from a simple gesture of signing something or taking a photo with someone. It's like it takes 30 seconds,
Yeah.
but it is a memory that they will live on with them for the rest of your life. How does that feel when you kind of like, I mean, for me, I've never signed an autograph, so I don't know what that would feel like, but what does that feel thinking about it from that perspective? How does that make you feel?
No, it is like that is the most special thing, like when you do sign an autograph. And I've done like you where you like whatever you sign some autographs, you throw a puck over the glass, just little stuff that literally doesn't even require any thought and you aren't like thinking anything of it. I've gotten like some Instagram DMs like the next day after a game or something from parents that are saying like, "Oh, we have your stick hung up in her bedroom," or "They slept with the puck right on their bedside table that you gave." Like they're so happy. They haven't stopped talking about the night. Like they're so excited to get to practice. That means more to like any athlete in the league or around the world than anybody really thinks. Like it drives you, like that's kind of like your motivation, where it's like I'm playing for this little girl to be able to be here one day and yeah, give that joy to another little kid. Very cool.
Wow, yeah, paying it forward. You're paying it forward. That's what that is. That's a oh, that's a good answer. I like that. I like that. That was great. When so we've kind of spoken about it a little bit, but when we talk about your collegiate career, okay? You went to both Lindenwood and Quinnipiac, and I kind of want to know, what was your experience like in those two programs, and how do you think being a part of those programs has helped to shape you both as a player and as a person?
Yeah, I mean, Lindenwood and Quinnipiac, they're both great schools, great programs. I had a lot of fun at both, met some great people and played great hockey. But I think like when I transferred to Quinnipiac was really when like I grew the most, like as a person and as a hockey player. Just I'm like a really shy kid, and going from a school where I was so comfortable, I knew everybody, I knew my coaches, I knew what was expected of me, to move to a different state and not know anybody there and go into a brand new system, like new surroundings, and just like everything else that comes with joining a new team was so scary. And just kind of, I had to get myself comfortable with being uncomfortable in the moment. And that was really hard for me. And that's what really, really helped me grow as a person and helped me grow on the ice as well.
So you were able to prove to yourself something that you didn't think you could do, which was
Yeah.
to come out of your shell, be at even just a tiny bit less shy and less uncomfortable. What did that mean to you to be able to prove to yourself that, hey, listen, I'm more than just, a great athlete. I'm actually like I can see myself growing as a person because I continue to challenge myself. How did it feel to prove to yourself that you are capable of doing that?
Yeah, I mean, it just helps you grow confidence within yourself. And when you have self-confidence, you're gonna perform better on the ice. You're gonna just be able to make new friends instead of being so, oh my gosh, I don't know what they're gonna think of me. It's just, yeah, I mean, it was great.
And we will be right back. This episode is sponsored by sports nutritionist Melissa Buffunos of MB Performance Nutrition. As a former competitive hockey player turned nutritionist, Melissa's mission is to help the next generation of hockey players optimize their diets and health so they can perform their best both on and off the ice. Ready to dominate on the ice? Melissa's new course, The Hockey Nutrition Blueprint, is available now. If you're serious about learning how nutrition can impact performance and building actionable nutrition strategies based on your unique needs as an elite hockey player, learn more and sign up at melissabuffunos.com/course. That's melissabuffunos.com/course. And make sure to use code Rinkside to save $50 off the regular price. Thank you to Melissa Buffunos for sponsoring this episode. And now, back to the show. There's so much to talk about in terms of your collegiate career. But I want to wrap up with something that I think is going to be really important. And when we talk about the future of women's hockey, we talk about the next generation of women's hockey. There are now more than ever, there are going to be a lot of women out there looking to figure out how to best, take that next step in their journey from junior to collegiate. Could you maybe, share some advice? You went through the process of going, of going to, doing your collegiate career. What advice might you have for someone who's looking at, like, oh my goodness, like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm so overwhelmed. What would Taylor Girard tell me?
Yeah, I mean, it really is such a hard process. I committed to Lindenwood when I was in like ninth grade, so things have changed a lot now where kids can't commit, I think, until you're in like 11th grade for
That's
sure.
crazy though, that that's a huge decision you're making and you
And
just
then,
started high
yeah,
school.
yeah, it was pretty nuts. And I think the biggest advice I would give is really just like go visit any school that you have any slight interest in. And once you're on the campus and like you get to see what the dorms look like or what the campus looks like, and you'll just like know when you're there, like if it feels like home, if it feels like you can make it into a home. I mean, yeah, like you really have to decide if you want a big school, if you want a small school feeling, or really like what you want to study. But yeah, I feel like once you're there and on campus and you hear from the coaching staff, you just kind of like know in your gut, like, this is where I want to be, this is where I want to spend my college career.
It's good advice. Good advice. Don't just look at it on paper. You have to experience it, right? Because you're going to be experiencing it for, at least 4 years,
Yeah,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. So, I think, one of the things that's really, really unique, and I'm going to actually broaden this out a little bit to like just women in sports. But one of the things that's really unique is how they're leveraging social media and genuinely wanting to connect with fans. I think that's something that men's sports, they've just I think it's a little bit more traditional, if you will. Maybe I'm overstepping there, but it's, kind of a bit more of a traditional mindset. Whereas women have really leveraged this in a really unique and exciting way, to be able to connect with fans, posting videos, posting stories, like, this is my workout, this is what I'm, all these different things.
Mhm.
And I think that's a really great way to be able to connect with fans, to be able to drive interest in whatever it is, whatever sport for you. Obviously, it's hockey, but to drive those fans to the organization, to the league, all those different things. How do you view social media and how it's helped exposure of women in sports?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, social media is huge. We all know that we're always on our phones. Um, but I like it. I think it comes with some negative aspects, which also we all know. But when I was younger, or like on Instagram or something, if I were able to follow a female professional athlete, and in like especially in the sport that I play, and got to see what they were doing just like in their workout, or what they're doing in their summer on ice training, or just like what are they eating throughout the day,
Or like
like
what are they doing in life, right? Like
yeah,
just
like
life
outside
things.
of the rink, yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
oh wow, this athlete isn't on the ice all day every day, like they actually enjoy themselves a little bit. I think that's something that is so good for young athletes to kind of see, and just kind of how this level, like what it takes to be at this level almost. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of kids, like they're sitting on Instagram, you're scrolling, you're on TikTok, you're scrolling, watching all these videos. But I think once you see a video that does have to do like with your sport, and seeing that workout, or seeing someone eating properly, just like little things, it kind of is like, oh, maybe I should do this too because I want to be there. I think it's a really powerful way to bring awareness to that, and also just bring more fans and awareness to the sport, and get them out to rinks, and make it known that women's hockey is a thing. And yeah.
Do you think, going back to a previous comment that you made about, initially starting off pretty shy, do you think, obviously you went to Quinnipiac, which helped you to come out of your shell a little bit more. Do you think like what you're posting on social media and, whatever it is, your day to day, your workouts, all those different things, do you think that also helps you to continue kind of coming out of your shell and feeling more comfortable and less shy?
Yeah, I think so a little bit. I mean, kind of I'm hiding behind my phone with it though also, but yeah, it's just recording my workouts and just being myself on social media definitely brings you out of your shell, because even like if you just record yourself and you listen back, you're like, oh my God, I can't watch this. That's how I am. But it's just like being vulnerable and putting yourself out there. And yeah, it definitely has helped me for sure.
Yeah, I can tell you, I've posted some silly, goofy videos of myself, and every time I do it, I'm like, I have to mute myself so that I can just edit
Yeah.
the video, and I don't actually need to hear my voice because I just like I probably could have done that a lot better or sounded a lot less ridiculous in there.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah,
get me out of here.
yeah, exactly, absolutely, yeah. So we're moving through your career, and before we get to your current, we have to talk about the step beforehand, which was in the PHF. So you played with the Connecticut Whale. You were drafted first overall. What was it like to be, when we talk about pressure, that's a lot of pressure to be drafted first overall. When you think back to that time, how do you think you were able to handle the pressure of being a first overall draft pick and not let that stop you from growing both on and off the ice?
Yeah, I mean, going to the Connecticut Whale was it was fun. Like I kind of knew some of the girls before, so going there, I already had like a good group. So I already felt um kind of like confident in that way, just being able to have like a group of buddies and being able to meet new people, and my teammates surrounding me were I like they were awesome. So it made the game more fun and just free flowing. So then when we got on the ice, it was just like we're just out here having a good time. And I think that's what made it so enjoyable, and just helping me to grow as a hockey player, just like having fun in the sport and getting to call it my job.
And I realized I kind of quickly glossed over a really, really important fact there, which is that you were drafted first overall.
Yeah.
So before we move on from that, like You had mentioned that obviously it was on Zoom, so it may have been a little bit of a different experience, but still, what was it like? I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question. What was it like to hear your name selected for first overall? What was that moment like?
Yeah, on Zoom was weird because you're just sitting there, just like looking at your computer. And like I said earlier, I was like coaching a hockey camp. So I was just in my hotel room alone, just like looking at my computer and wasn't really sure what to expect. I talked to the Connecticut Whale a little bit and I also talked to some other teams. So wasn't really sure what was going to happen. And then when they did call my name first, I feel like I blacked out. Like I just then you have to like join. They like added you to this other room, and then you just like have an interview super quick. Um, but yeah, it's kind of just like, and then once you like close your laptop and you let everything sink in, you're like, okay, like I'm a professional athlete. Like that's so cool and so special. And at this hockey camp that I was coaching, I think this is the most special story. It was a group of young female athletes, and I didn't know this at the time, but they were like the whole camp was staying in the same hotel, and they rented out a room downstairs in the hotel, and they had the draft like on the big TV. So they all saw that, and once I like closed my laptop and I walked downstairs, everybody was cheering for me and just made it so special. It was very cool.
Yeah, I always wonder whether or not in those moments you kind of just black out because I feel like it's just like there's just so much, excitement and all of those different things, especially, considering, not too long ago you were hitting the ice, for the very first time, and now here you are being drafted first overall. Like it just must feel so surreal.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah. And then, as we, take that next step forward into the PWHL, you were drafted by Boston. As you mentioned, one of a very select few who have been drafted twice, which doesn't happen. And I love that's a great point. It usually you only get drafted once,
Yeah.
in terms of professional careers, anyways. Um, what were your initial thoughts when you heard your name called by Boston?
I was really grateful. It was so scary. This draft was, like I mentioned before, in Toronto, so this one I went in person. And just like sitting there and like you're hearing other people getting called and you're like, am I gonna get called? Because you're really not sure. Obviously, like in a draft, you're like, it's possible that my career is over. So it's really, really scary. And when my name did get called, I had one of my best friends was there with me, and I just remember like I literally dropped my phone and gave her a hug, and I was like just like shaking, like I just blacked out, went on the stage, and yeah, but really special to be able to continue playing professional hockey in the best league. It's really awesome.
And speaking of that league, um, what were some of your favorite memories from this past season?
Yeah, I think my favorite memory this year was getting to play in Detroit, which it was just so special to me because obviously that's where I'm from, and I had a lot of family members fly in like to come watch the game, and had a good group there of people from high school or just like the Honey Baked. I played for Honey Baked growing up, so having the Honey Baked club there and just all of the girls I coach in the summer, and just it was really special to be able to bring the PWHL there and show all of these athletes in Michigan who don't have any female really athletes because there's no Division 1 hockey in Michigan, which is sad. There should be. Um, these girls have never been able to see something like this unless you travel a distance for it. So I think it was just really special to be able to bring hockey, women's hockey there. It's cool.
Oh, you still literally was going to be my follow-up question was
Oh,
exactly that. Was so
yeah.
it's like you read my mind. You knew exactly where this conversation was going to go. Because I think the opportunity to be able to play in front of your home fans, in front, like in terms of like your home, that's a
Definitely.
really, really unique opportunity. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that, not especially playing, in the PWHL, with it only being 6 teams, like you likely went into the season not necessarily being able to expect this sort of opportunity. So, it just, like, when you reflect on that experience, like, could you just like, I love the idea of being able to play in front of your home fans. And what was it like afterwards? What was it like to be able to like step off the ice and be able to, like, you have tons of family, tons, like, when we talk about earlier, we talked about the support system that you had in place, like just everyone rooting for you, injuries, all those sorts of things. Stepping off that ice and being able to be surrounded by those people. What was that experience like as well?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly have chills right now just like talking about it because this was like the most special game of my hockey career. Um, no, but my mom owns a t-shirt business and she made, because again, like we had so many friends and family coming, she probably made like over 100 t-shirts with like my name and number on the back. They were green and just like in warm-ups looking around, and literally they had like a whole section of just the green Taylor Girard t-shirts, and I was just like smiling because that's so cool, to just have all of that support. And yeah, it was just very, very cool.
I
And I
love
had
that.
like family members be able to watch that have never been able to see me play hockey, so it was very cool.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point as well, right? And you kind of made it earlier, but one of the frustrating things about women's hockey is that really you only got to see it every 4 years,
Yeah.
and it was only internationally. And if you weren't able to make the national team, then you were in a position where you weren't able. Like, people just, they want to see you play, but unless they travel to whatever university you're playing at, they don't have the opportunity to be able to see you play. And to be able to do that in front of friends and family and all these people who have been rooting for you this whole time, ooh, I get chills, and I wasn't even a part of that. So that's that's
Yeah.
that's fantastic. Um, what advice do you think you would share with young girls who are aspiring to play hockey at a high level?
Mm, it's a good one. I think my advice would be to, as cliche as it is, always work hard on and off the ice, whether there's a coach watching you or there's a coach not watching you. Um, like success isn't just like a goal or your team winning on your game or whatever. It's about how you're training, how you're eating, how you're sleeping. And yeah, I feel like just doing all of the work outside of the rink, will help you get to that next level. And I think the most important advice in all of it is to genuinely just have fun and enjoy the game. And if you make a mistake, smile. Like, it's not the end of the world. Hockey is a game of mistakes. And yeah.
I think that is great advice. And I think, especially, um, as a fan, we only see you on the ice. So we only see, it literally is, we can only see what we can see. You don't necessarily realize the importance that, like, you only are as good on the ice as you are off the ice,
Yeah.
right? And, like you mentioned, getting good sleep, eating well, all those different things, like that goes a really long, a really long way in terms of how successful you are as an athlete.
For sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap things up with the fun 20 questions, but not really 20 questions segment of the show.
Okay.
This is the crack team here at Rinkside Rundown, being my dog and I, put together this questionnaire to really get to know the one and only Taylor Girard. Are you ready to take this test?
I'm ready.
Perfect. Yes. And I always say that I'm glad I'm on this side of the question, because I don't know that I would have an answer for any of these things.
All good.
So I'm going to start off with the fact that I've heard through the grapevine that you speak with your agent pretty often.
Yeah.
So I want to know, what would you say is the earliest you've messaged your agent,
Hmm.
and what would you say it was about?
Um, like earliest in the morning.
Yeah, yeah.
I honestly don't know, like maybe 5 in the morning. I'm always up early. Could have been earlier though, because I get up early. And I have no idea what it would have been about, but she always gets mad because I never say good morning. I always am just like, I never say good morning to anyone. I just like, if there's a thought in my head, I'm texting you that.
Yeah. Skip the
So,
pleasantries. Like, I'm just right to it. Yeah. um, you are also an avid reader.
yeah.
What are you currently reading? And what would you say was, I'm not going to say your favorite book, because that may be a little bit difficult to narrow it down to just one, but what was at least one of your favorite books?
Um, I really like murder mysteries, even though I'm like really scared of everything. But right now I'm reading The Housemaid's Secret. Um, I'm on like the second book. I think there's like a series of three. But my favorite book is Verity by Colleen Hoover.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's like definitively your favorite book?
Yeah, it was
Oh,
like
wow. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. I was not expecting you to have like an all-time favorite. I thought there might be like a
yeah.
rotating, top three or something like that. So that's fantastic. Um, for some crazy reason, somebody hasn't seen you play. What would you like? How would you describe your style of play on the ice?
Um, I think I would say fast and physical.
Okay, good answer. I like that. Just right to the point. Love it. Um, what does an off season look like for a typical off season? Obviously, this one's a little bit different, but
Mhm.
what does a typical off season look like for you? And how do you think it's changed as you've continued progressing throughout your career?
Yeah, I think the off season for me is a lot of fun because I live in Michigan. There's a lot of lakes. My boyfriend lives on the lake, so we get to go out on his boat all the time and just enjoy enjoy the summer, enjoy the sun because I love the sun. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of we work out and skate and um, yeah, enjoy time with my family because you don't get to see them all that often and yeah.
Cool. I love it. What is your go-to pregame meal?
Um, I love like steak and tortellini. We'll go with.
Oh, okay. Good. I like that. I like that. Usually it's chicken and pasta, so I like that. I like that. What are some of your cheat meals?
Cheat meals. I don't know. I'm a huge snacker. Like I love chips and salsa. Like I could eat chips and salsa for the rest of my life for every meal. It's like my favorite thing. Um, big like candy person though also. Yeah.
Yeah,
This
I've
is kind
heard. Yeah. And you know what's coming. You know what's coming. I've heard an interesting and unusual kind of pre or like the night before the game routine of Dr. Pepper and Reese's peanut butter cups. Could you tell me more about how that started and why I guess why it's become such a routine for you?
um it honestly started when I I honestly don't fully remember when it started. I feel like it was when I was on the whale, so like it hasn't been this long. It's been like 2, 3 years. Um where I just needed a snack one day. So I went down to the hotel, like little convenience store or whatever, and they had a Dr. Pepper and Reese's, and I was like, oh, this is good. So I had the Dr. Pepper and the two Reese's cups, and I played great the next day. So I just kind of kept it going, and I had a great first 2 years on the whale. So
I mean, if
worked out.
there, I would say that's a great superstition to have. Then, so let's keep doing. Let's keep that up.
Yeah.
Um, Speaking of snacks, um, What are some of your bus ride snacks of choice?
Um, I love like the sour strips. I love those to have. Um, or why can't I like veggie straws?
Okay.
Like some type
Yep.
of like chip. So I always need like a crunchy, like a sour, a chocolate, and then yeah, drinks.
Yeah, those are all the major food groups, so that's totally
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. Um, okay, so during the season, who owned the dressing room music, and what do you remember being played most often?
Um, this year was Ratty, Jamie Lee Rattray. I think she had it. She had it for every single game. For practices, it would like mostly be her. Um, and it was just like a broad range of music. I remember at one point she kind of like sent a message out to the group chat and told everybody to send in some options, and so then everyone got a little taste of what they liked, especially on game day. And when you would hear your song come on, it's like, yay.
I made the cut.
Yeah.
And so this is a perfect segue into if you could choose one song to play for the rest of your life, what would it be? And the caveat being that it doesn't have to be playing all of the time, but if you're like, man, I'm looking for a banger right now, it has to be this song.
Um, I'm not like a big music person, honestly. Like, I don't listen to music all that much, but like I love country music.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I would say
Would it be
something.
would it maybe be a podcast or an audiobook or something like that instead?
Um, I don't know. I don't like listen to stuff all that much, so I
Huh.
think I would
All right.
say country.
Okay, so then would it be your favorite book? Would that maybe we could switch it to you would just read your favorite book that would instead of listening to your favorite song?
I don't know because I love like the murder mystery thing. So like once you already like read the murder mystery and you already know the plot twist, it's
Oh
hard to
yeah.
listen to it because you're like I already know that that's not no.
Yeah, there's no twist when you know what the twist is. Yeah. Okay, so a couple more questions for you here. What's something that still remains on your bucket list?
Um, I think just like traveling around the world would be something. I got to go
Anywhere in
to
particular?
Italy. Italy was on my bucket list, but I got to go this summer, so check.
What's next then? What's the next one on if we're looking down that checklist? What's next?
I think I want to go to Spain.
Oh, okay. Nice. It's beautiful there, so that's fair. That's fair. What's something that people may not know about Taylor Girard?
Mm, I was gonna say like the reading thing, but it was already outed.
Yeah.
Um,
And the Dr. Pepper and Reese's, so that you're also outed there. So,
my secrets are in the air.
yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I would say the reading thing. I don't
Okay.
know.
That's fair. That's really fair. Yeah. And lastly, what is something that motivates and inspires you?
Um, I feel like the theme of this was my family. So I would say my family is what really motivates me and just inspires me. And just got a new nephew. So like that's been really cool to be able to play hockey, and he got to come to the Detroit game. So that was really cool to just, I don't think he'll remember it. He was very little, but just to be able to see him and toss him a puck, I think that's really cool.
That's amazing. And that is a perfect place to end this conversation. And I want to say, Taylor, you have taken time out of your busy off season to join the show. I can't thank you enough. This has been an absolute blast. I can't believe it's been, about just about an hour now. It feels like we just started this conversation. I can't thank you enough. Good luck in this upcoming season. Obviously, good luck in your off season recovering and all those sorts of things as well. I'll be rooting for you. But thank you so much for joining the show today.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. And you got to come to some games.
I do, absolutely. I can't wait to do that. I cannot wait.
Yeah.
And so there you have it, folks, for Taylor Girard. I'm Chris Sinclair, and this has been Rinkside Rundown. Cheers.